I'm author Sarah A. Chrisman.
I'm Gabriel Chrisman.
And today we're talking about Moby Dick.
The classic.
The classic. Now, the first time I read this one, I was in high school. And it was a marathon because it's a pretty long book, if you haven't read it. And my high school English teacher, best teacher I've ever had in my life. I loved that woman. And the reason I loved her so much, and she was such a good teacher, she was the one teacher I had who never condescended to us, who was always pushing us as hard as we could go.
Yes.
And never apologized for it, just always saying, this is just what it's going to have to be. I loved her for that.
Yeah.
And so when we read Moby Dick, we were reading this at a pace of 50 pages a night. Now, I had a total of 6 classes, and so this is at the same time I was in, let's see, that would have been physics and advanced algebra, and I had an after-school job too, and in a bunch of clubs as well, but 50 pages a night. So my memories of reading this book the first time I read it, I would read it between classes, I would read it at lunch. My strongest memories are of reading it propped up on the bathroom mirror while I was curling my hair in the morning and brushing my teeth. So it's got lots of high school memories wrapped up in it, with it for me. I will confess, the first time I read it, I didn't care for it. But Gabriel read it, and he loved it so much, I decided I should give it a reread, give it a second chance.
I thought this was one of the classics that did deserve to be a classic.
So why do you like it so much?
So I liked it because I thought that he did an excellent job of getting across the reality of 19th century sea travel and whaling, and getting across the details of that. I really admired the way that he had this wealth of detail throughout the whole book. And I liked a lot of the characters. And I'm not talking about Ahab, honestly, I'm not that into Ahab. But Queequeg was fascinating.
I like Queequeg. Queequeg's my favorite character in this, honestly.
Yeah, and I thought that there was just a bunch of really good and interesting figures and descriptions, and I liked it as a book that you could really immerse yourself in and try to understand this whole world.
Yeah.
And I really liked that Melville did that. Now, at the time, and certainly for a while afterwards, I had no idea that Melville actually had real experience. And so I was more impressed that he had done all the research on this. I figured he had just interviewed tons of people in, basically waterfront bars for decades in order to be able to do this. But no, it turns out he actually had experience on a whaling ship, which I never knew.
Yeah, so basically Ishmael's career arc, Melville had a lot of Ishmael's experiences.
Right.
There's a little bit of...
compressed.
But compressed.
Because Melville hadn't gone on any of these years-long whaling voyages because this was cut short.
Well, he did wind up on a cannibal island, so Queequeg is, he had known cannibals. He had known actual cannibals.
Right.
And when I reread this, it was really interesting because rereading it, the writing style reminds me of the sea itself. I mean, I lived in a coastal state for 40 years of my life, and the ocean, sometimes it's frenzied, sometimes it's moody, sometimes it's always epic. It's always epic, but you can also look at it, down to the plankton level, and it's ancient, but it's always shifting. You've always got those tides. And the writing style is that way, too. I didn't notice that the first time when I was reading it at a pace of 50 pages a night.
Right.
But when I reread it recently at a more leisurely pace, I was able to appreciate that, which I liked. Now, something else giving it a second read, as now an experienced writer, over the last century or so, American high school students have covered hundreds of thousands of pages with I don't know how many gallons of ink on the symbolism of the
Yes.
white whale.
Mm-hmm.
Everything. What is the symbolism of the white whale? It's one of those classic
It is the essay question.
questions.
Yes, exactly. The great American essay
The
question.
great American essay question. But rereading it now, I think the primary purpose of The White Whale is to give a focus to the plot. Melville needed a villain. He needed a focus for his plot. He needed something to keep driving the plot along throughout the whole book.
But essentially, the reason he needed that plot is he wanted to write a book about whaling, because he had a lot of knowledge and experience about whaling, and he wanted an excuse to write about it.
Right.
But in order to make that work as a novel, you needed a plot.
You needed a plot. And The White Whale provides that.
It is a plot device.
The White Whale is a plot device. The White Whale drives the action. He keeps things going. And I appreciated seeing Melville's recognition of the importance of subordinating symbolism to plot.
Yes.
Because so many... The trouble with the world today. Get my little cane out. The trouble with the world today. So many books that come out these days, novels that come out these days, written by English majors who've never seen the outside of an English class. They're all just about symbolism and symbolism and symbolism, and there's no plot. There's no there.
This is where I really respect genre writers, because no genre writer would ever write a book without a plot.
Right.
But literary fiction endlessly turns out books without plots.
Yeah, I just don't like them.
Right.
There's no point.
No.
There's no there.
Right.
And it's important to have a plot. You can have as much symbolism as you like within that plot.
Yes.
But you have
the
to
plot
have...
is primary.
The plot is primary.
If you want a book to be fun to read, it has to have a good and interesting plot.
Right,
that moves
exactly.
a story forward.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And yes, The White Whale is that.
The White Whale is that.
It is kind of the plot.
It's the plot.
Yes.
And yes, everything can have other meanings. In my books, my books you can read at so many levels because everything has symbolism in my books, but they have plots too.
Right, yes.
And the symbolism is subordinate to the plot.
Yes.
And I appreciate that Melville understood that and was good at working with that.
Mm-hmm.
So that's something I noticed on a reread, and something that was just kind of a really funny coincidence. When I was rereading this, I had to have a cavity filled in a wisdom tooth at the dentist. And I was sitting at the dentist's office waiting to get called in for my appointment. And the chapter I happened to be reading at the time when I'm sitting in the dentist's office is the chapter where Melville is talking about cutting the jaw out of the sperm whale. And so it's like, well, life's about to imitate art.
Symbolism.
Symbolism.
That's right. It was
Symbolism.
symbolic.
Yes.
Gave you a new vision of the symbolic nature of the descriptions of whaling being actually about dentistry.
Yeah. Well, thank goodness.
It's not as much of a stretch as some of the things people have written about Moby Dick.
That's true.
Yes.
That's true. But thank goodness the dentist didn't have to take out my whole jaw like they did with the whale.
No.
Something, on the rereading of it, something I was kind of disappointed about, that I was reading it so fast the first time I didn't have time to be disappointed about this.
Yeah.
Queequeg's character is kind of inconclusive because he's so well written at the start of the book, and then he kind of disappears.
Right.
You realize
there never is an ending to his story.
Well, at the very end of the book, Ishmael does mention that he is the only survivor from the Pequods. So from that you have to infer that Queequeg died too.
Everyone died except Ishmael.
Right.
Yeah.
Everyone died except Ishmael. We have an earlier scene where Queequeg's very sick and he has a coffin made, but he winds up recovering from his fever.
Right.
And his coffin becomes this weird little flotation device that is what saves Ishmael. But we never see we see the sickness of Queequeg and his recovery. We never see the death of Queequeg.
Right.
and I think we should have. We see the death of Stubbs and Starbuck and Ahab, but not Queequeg, and I feel like that is...
It leaves an opening for a sequel.
Well, you know, it's funny. Someone wrote that terrible, horrible novel, Ahab's Wife, which I thought was a wretched book.
Yes.
I hated that one. But I think it would have been much better for someone who was a better writer than that one to write a book about Queequeg.
Yeah, The Further Adventures of Queequeg.
The Further Adventures of Queequeg, and that one has so much potential for action.
Absolutely.
I mean, talk about action.
Yes.
That one would be all action. That would be like...
Symbolism? What's that?
Well...
Let's have some more Queequeg harpooning things.
Honestly, I'm now envisioning a Queequeg book, and then that book made into a movie. Who would... The Rock.
There you go.
The Rock playing Queequeg. I think that would be perfect. That would be awesome.
There you go.
I would love to see that. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I did have a greater appreciation for Stubbs and Starbuck on the second reading of this. Because again, the first time I was reading it, I was going so fast. I didn't have much chance to really linger over anybody. But I liked that Stubbs and Starbuck are two ends of the same pole. And that's not overreading, because Melville actually calls that out at some point.
Yeah.
And I loved Stubbs' line of whatever comes, I'll go to it laughing.
Yes.
He is always the perpetual optimist.
And that's a classic.
I like that about him. I like that about him. So Queequeg is still my favorite character, but Stubbs is a close second. How about you?
Well, yeah, I'd agree with that. The thing that's interesting about Ishmael as a character is that he really isn't, there's no there, right? There's almost no description of it. It's an early example of where he's written as someone that anyone can picture themselves in his place.
Yeah.
That's the idea.
Yeah.
So he's not really a character of his own.
Right. So if you've read Moby Dick, go ahead and tell us your favorite character from the book in the comments, because I think that could lead to some interesting conversations. Yeah. And if you haven't read it, this one it's a classic in America. It used to be the case that every American high school student had to read this. Sadly, I don't think they're reading anything this long anymore.
I don't think so. They might read an excerpt, but even that, I don't know. It's crazy that they're not reading things like this. It's not that challenging. This isn't like reading Ulysses. This isn't like reading even the Iliad. The language in this is much more approachable. And the detail and everything keeps it interesting, as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah.
And so I don't think this one is anywhere near as much of a challenge to read as some of those others.
The first few chapters, if you're not accustomed to Melville's style, the first few chapters can get a little dull because he takes a little while to get going. But once you get through those first few chapters, it gets far more interesting.
Especially as soon as Queequeg shows up.
Yeah, I do like Queequeg.
Yeah.
And especially as soon as Starbuck and Stubbs show up.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot more screen time in the book than Ishmael winds up having.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, definitely one to put on your list and to consider. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a nice thumbs up, and remember to tell your friends about my books. Happy reading!